Couple of guys on the cusp of the rankings. We've got Song Yadong taking on Casey Kenney. Couple of powerhouse gyms going at it. MMA lab for Casey Kenney. For Song Yadong, training out of Team Alpha Male. This is a guy that his nickname on Tapology is Kung Fu Monkey, but truly he does have a Kung Fu base. But he's one of those guys that has been in the UFC for a while, is only 23 years old. He's closer to 24, but 23 and 8 months. And he's a guy that's continually added to his game. But primarily, when you watch him fight, he's a boxer with porous takedown defense. And that's Song Yadong in a nutshell. Now, the takedown defense is going to get better when you're training with the Chad Mendezes, the Darren Elkins of the world, and so on and so forth. And I think a great guy to train with for this fight is Ricardo Ramos, who actually happens to be at that gym as well. For Casey Kenney, all he has to do is hit up his buddy Kyler Phillips, who just fought Song Yadong, who trained together, and there you go. Or train with a guy like Sean O'Malley to get ready for a fight like this. That Arizona connection. Now, I absolutely love this fight. We consider this a possible fight of the night. I'm eager to get your thoughts on this one because Song Yadong has such great striking, such great speed with his power. Casey Kenney, you talk about guys that pitter-patter and then they back all the way out. And then pitter-patter and then back all the way out. I think for Casey Kenney, make this a boring fight and try and grapple.
I don't think he's going to do that, though.
No.
This is the problem. You bring up, to call up his buddy Kyler Phillips. If Casey Kenney fights Song Yadong like Kyler Phillips did, Casey Kenney's getting knocked out in the second round. Kyler Phillips has a much more dynamic movement on the feet, and he has a much better way of rolling with shots when he eats them, because a lot of people just look at, Song Yadong lost to Kyler Phillips. Go back and watch that fight. It is as close to a draw as a unanimous decision can be. I know that's a bit of a mouthful, but yeah, I would say you'd agree. Like, that's a very, very close fight.
Song Yadong, throughout his career, 3 performance of the night bonuses quick, and then he got a fight of the night with Marlon Vera too.
Exactly, and Song Yadong is almost a victim of those decisions because people look back at the Cody Stamann fight and they thought Cody Stamann won. I thought Cody Stamann won. It was one of those weird Darren Stewart-Duran win fights where it's like, okay, you're getting the takedowns, but you're not doing anything with them, and when we're on the feet, I'm lighting you up, but who's really going to win? So, if you want to give that a draw, I understand. Personally, I thought Marlon Vera beat Song Yadong, but we're talking about Marlon Vera. These are the types of fighters who Song Yadong belongs to be in there with. And if you want to say Song Yadong beat Marlon Vera, I can't really argue with him. The thing is, his last 3 fights have all been really close, and they all could be wins, losses, or draws, we're being really honest. And it'll be really interesting to see how he approaches this fight against Casey Kenney, because I have no doubt in my mind Song Yadong is the much better striker at range, although Casey Kenney might have slightly more power in his kicks especially. Casey Kenney has a beautiful southpaw kick. He's really good at going to the body with it. He likes to go to the leg too. The hesitation I have with Casey Kenney in this pick, though, is his cardio. With Song Yadong can just fight for days. Like, if fights were 10 rounds, Song Yadong and Brandon Moreno would probably be undefeated. He does have really good cardio, even in fights where he is getting taken down, even in fights where he is eating damage. He's a guy who can stay and fight for a really hard 15 minutes, and that'll be a really important key for this fight, because with Casey Kenney, I think Casey Kenney could win the first 7 minutes of this fight. The first 8 minutes might be tough, though. Even look back at the Dominic Cruz fight. And I know Dominic Cruz is a very different fighter than Song Yadong. He has much better takedown defense. He moves a lot more. But Casey Kenney starts out strong, and then when he starts to miss, it's almost like he gets down on himself, kind of.
And the weird thing, too, if you look at that, one of the judges gave the fight to Casey Kenney. It's a split. I had Dominic Cruz winning that one. But again, you're sitting there yelling at your TV, hey, take him down. I know that's way easier said than done. Way easier said than done. And for Casey Kenney, you talk about fights being close. Look at his other fight. Look at his fight of the night against Nathaniel Wood. Did Casey Kenney win that one? I don't know. It was really close.
And that fight did come down to cardio. Like, Nathaniel Wood got busted up that first round, but what happened in the third round? Casey Kenney's output started to go down a little bit. And Nathaniel Wood, if anything, is, incredibly tough, but he has really good output, too. And Nathaniel Wood starts to put it on Casey Kenney. And that's actually the fight that I'm going to bring up a lot in this prediction, because Nathaniel Wood kind of fights like Song Yadong. He doesn't have the power, but he is one of those long-range boxers who does throw in his kicks. Casey Kenney does struggle at the long range with a lot of those strikers because Casey Kenney's kind of built like a T-Rex. I don't want to say he's built like Sean Shirk, but he doesn't have the longest arms in the world, and the fact that he does close range with his kicks will be really important, because if he's throwing kicks kind of like he did in the Haile Alatang fight, where there's just no regard for the power coming back his way, he can just throw power shots all day long, then I do worry about a counter shot from Song Yadong coming in the middle off of one of those kicks. Song Yadong is really good at timing kicks, and the weird thing for Casey Kenney, I always think back to the Rafael dos Anjos Anthony Pettis fight when I think about kicks and kick speed, because Anthony Pettis throws a head kick, and it is incredibly fast when he was champion. I know he gets, destroyed in that fight, but still, he throws a head kick, and Joe Rogan's like, wow, look how fast that kick is. And then RDA throws a kick to the body, and it's a great kick, it's a powerful kick, but there is a wind-up to that kick before he throws it. Casey Kenney throws those kinds of body kicks. You know they're coming, there's just not a lot you can do about it. But if Song Yadong is able to time one of those kicks, he's going to meet him with a straight shot right down the middle. And in the third round, I do think those are going to start to hurt Casey Kenney. They might not put him down in the first round, but even look at the Pantoja fight, the Alejandro Perez fight. He lands one clean shot that knocks his head back like a Pez dispenser, and he's never been the same since.
How about Alejandro Perez? He's coming back to take on Johnny Eduardo.
Wow.
Big time fight. I can't wait for it. But when I look at this one, it is an interesting one. I listened to an interview with Sportskeeda by our own JHK. I don't know how you put it that way when he's doing work for them. But he said that he realizes that the takedowns in the fight against Cruz probably would have helped. Should have gone for them.
Just tough.
But then the title that JHK used, I think he put it out on his own channel because Sportskeeda normally transcribe them and put them on their website. But JHK puts the video version, which honestly I like more. That's why you see them more on our site that way. But regardless, the title was more like Casey Kenney wants to put on an entertaining fight, wants to go out there, firefight with Song Yadong. But when I listened to the words, it was like, hey, if I take this guy down and if I really put in a good performance, that's probably the best way to win. But for Casey Kenney, he wants to be the exciting guy and fight a lot. So it's really weird. It's catch-22. Now, he did also say in that interview with JHK that he took time off after the fight against Cruz. He took 1 month off and didn't do anything. And then he dedicated himself to getting back in fight shape and getting ready. I think that mental reset is a good thing for a guy like Casey Kenney that even going into the Cruz fight, there were a lot of distractions. He went on Sean O'Malley's podcast. He didn't have the nicest of things to say about Megan Anderson, who was also on that card. There was just a lot of weird stuff. I think the month away, getting back into it, he's a guy that, and he referenced it too, 7 fights in a year and 11 months. He's just go, 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 go. He needed the reset. This Song Yadong fight's going to be, boom, we're back into turning and burning. Maybe a few more fights before the end of the year. Wants to keep it busy. So I just wanted to throw that one in there as he says he wants to go in there and have firefights, but also in the back of his mind, he knows, hey, I got to actually win the fight too. When I look at the odds for this one, Song Yadong open a -125 favorite. He's roughly a -103 right now in best fight odds. For Casey Kenney, open a +105. He's around a -114, 115. So these guys are closing in on par right now. Topology votes, surprised us as they are to you. 930 total votes, 68% Kenney, 89% by decision. For the 32% that have Song Yadong, 71% by decision. Matt, I can't wait for this fight. I think it's going to be a great one. What's the pick in this situation?
So we're going to talk about this more in the co-main event, but I do feel like this fight does shade the co-main event a little bit, or there are some parallels. Casey Kenney's a good striker, but not a fast striker, and I think that's going to bite him in this fight. Casey Kenney does kind of strike like Pedro Munoz, where it's, when I do hit you, it does have power behind it, but the issue is that it takes a second for it to get from point A to point B. Song Yadong is a great counter striker, and while I will admit, the wrestling is going to be a problem for Song Yadong, you know who just got back in the gym and is looking to make their MMA debut, or return? Chad Mendes. You know who I bring up all the time for being the best version of a wrestle boxer in MMA? Chad Mendes! I do feel like the Mendes connection is going to help Song Yadong for this fight. And again, Song Yadong in open space on the feet is a really, really tough fighter to deal with. He not only has the reach advantage, he's going to have the range advantage just by the way that he stands. And if Casey Kenney does have that fight of the night mindset coming into this fight, I fully expect Song Yadong to win.
I don't think Song Yadong, by virtue of training at Team Alpha Male, just becomes a monster and absorbs everybody's wrestling. And I haven't seen it yet. And for that reason, I go with Casey Kenney. You talk about the Teddy Atlas comps, the putting water in the basement. I love the kicks out of Casey Kenney that you mentioned as well.
Time, though.
And I think if he does go for some of those late round takedowns, it's just going to zap Song Yadong that much more. We've seen it. Again, Cody Stamann's a good wrestler. Kyler Phillips is a good wrestler, so on and so forth. I think Kenny's going to be able to implement the wrestling. He's going to be able to throw in the kicks. I think Kenny's going to get the win here. But we're splitting hairs between two guys that are on the cusp of being ranked and have fought fights against guys similar to this.
Here's the thing about Song Yadong. I think he's one of the more successful Sage North cuts to ever be in the UFC. They signed him way too early. Let's just call it what it is. He was one of those fighters where, like, they signed as he's walking out. They're like, oh, at 19 years of age, he's making his UFC debut. But it did work out for him. And that's more than a lot of MMA prospects can say. It's a lot of the times where, oh, you're really young, you win, like, one fight against the guy you're supposed to beat, then they send you to someone who's good, and then you get beat really bad. Look at Chase Hooper, for instance. Like, Song Yadong is a guy who did not have an easy way through the UFC whatsoever, and he's looked really good, and he has made the improvements. I think this fight's going to be phenomenal.
And Casey Kenney's the exact opposite. He fought for Tachi Palace fights. He fought with LFA where he was the champ. He beat Ray Borg. He beat Manny Bermudez. Like, he's beaten some names that you recognize. Even Luis Smolka in the Smolka Effect Extraordinaire, where he gets the one-arm guillotine in that one. Nice. So I've got Kenny in this one. You've got Song Yadong. You let us know down below who you have to get this win, because they will ultimately, most likely, be ranked. And I'm surprised even Raulian Paiva, beating a ranked fighter, didn't get a number next to his name, but that's neither here nor there. We got some great fights on this card. UFC 265, the main card in the co-main event, features Jose Aldo taking on Pedro Munhoz. Again, parallels between this fight and that. In your main event, Ciryl Gane taking on Derrick Lewis for the interim strap. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, as we always say. Let's get into it.